Hey, welcome back, students. This is going to be video number 3 in our series. Bear with me while I click through here. You should have watched these first 3 that I've got posted here before you watch this one. This is going to be the combined method. So what we're going to do in this video, we've got our multi-view drawing up here, is instead of doing a bunch of additive or all subtractive, we're going to do kind of a combination. So we're going to draw out these solid object lines that we see in the front view. We're going to extrude it back, and then we're going to use the subtractive method to take and cut these two away. Right? We're going to try and do this a little more efficiently, though, so we're only going to make 2 sketches to do this whole drawing for the combined method. All right, so I'm going to jump over to Fusion 360. You can see I got a couple tabs open here, so I'm going to actually close these. Your computer doesn't have a ton of processing power, neither does mine, so sometimes it'll run nicer if we don't have a bunch of tabs open up top here. Okay, now I'm in Untitled Doc number 1. If I get out of all of these, it kind of defaults back to Untitled. You can see I can't close this Untitled one because it just keeps opening back up. And so if it says Untitled up here right now, you're doing good. Now we're going to go over to File, and we're going to click on Save to save this one. Make sure we're saving it in your Fusion 360, and we'll call this our combined shape. And then we'll go ahead and hit Save. And so I've got my combined shape up here. Okay, now, a lot of these steps are going to seem familiar to you here. We're going to go to Start Sketch. I'm going to click on the front pane, or the front of my view cube. Then I'm going to click on this plane rather, that's here. Okay, and this is going to be a little different because I'm going to sketch 2 rectangles in this sketch. So I'm going to start off with a rectangle from my origin. This rectangle is going to be the overall size of my object. I've drawn this object a couple times here tonight, so I know that it's 5 by 7. So I'm going to type those numbers in before I hit enter. Okay, now I'm going to come back to the rectangle tool. This time I'm going to go to the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to draw another rectangle. This rectangle is going to be 2 inches shorter in each dimension. So it's going to be 5 by 3. All right. And I'm doing the engineering thing, checking. I got 5 up top, 3 on the side. That looks good. So I'm going to hit enter. Now I got a rectangle within a rectangle. So I'm going to finish this sketch. All right. On my view cube, if I turn it here, you can see now I've got 2 different profiles that I'm able to kind of mouse over and highlight. So when I go to extrude, nothing immediately pops up in my menu here, or my preview, because I haven't picked a profile yet. So I'm going to click on this profile. All right. And then it asks me, how far do you want to extrude that blue rectangle? I want to go a distance of 5 inches. All right, so I'm going to hit 5. And there you can see I got that rectangle extruded out with 1 sketch versus the 2 that it took in our subtractive method. And I was able to just use the rectangle tool versus using the line tool multiple times in our additive method. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and make another sketch. This time I'm going to pick the very top of the object here to sketch on. All right, and I'm going to try to sketch out, well, I'm not going to try, I am going to sketch out this rectangular cutaway and this rectangular cutaway in this sketch. All right, so we'll go back to Fusion. I'm going to grab the rectangular tool and see how I've got this blue X showing up. That tells me my first corner is going to be right on top of that line, which is what I want. Now I got another blue X showing up that tells me my second corner is going to be on top of that line, which is what I want. All right, now I want to draw a 2 by 3 inch rectangle. All right, I'm going to hit enter. Okay, now I've got the rectangle the right size, but I don't know if it's in the right location. So I'm going to go to the sketch dimension tool, and I'm going to click the edge of the rectangle I just drew, the edge of my original shape, and then I'll click another time to open up a dialog box. And if I look on my dimension drawing here, this flat section, right, which is the same as this flat section in the top view, is 1 inch wide. And so I'm going to hit the number 1. Right, that gets that sketch in the right location. And now, like I said, we're going to try and be efficient here. So I'm going to sketch another rectangle in this same sketch. Okay, so this time I'm going to come over to the far right-hand side, and I want to start my rectangle. I don't know if you can see what's happening here. As I go over the far right-hand side, my cursor just stays with that crosshair look. It doesn't turn into that blue X when I go over top of this line. And so I need to do a command called project geometry, because what's happening here is I'm sketching on this top plane, right? This corner is on a different plane. It's sunk down a couple inches from the plane I'm sketching on. So I want to project this line up to my active drawing plane. So to do that, I'm going to click the drop down under Create. I'm going to come to the Project Include, and I'm going to pick the Project tool. And this hotkey here tells me I could have just pushed the letter P to do that. Okay, then I'm going to come over here and I'll hover over this edge. And when I click Project, you can see how it turns from black to blue. And if I go to kind of a 3D view here, you can see how now I've got my edge here and this purplish looking line up on my drawing plane. Right? That's what I wanted to do. So now that we've projected that line through, we can go back to our rectangle tool. And when I hover over that purplish line, my blue X shows up, which is what I wanted. Okay, so this time the dimensions are flip-flopped. We're going to draw a 3-inch long by 1-inch tall rectangle. And that rectangle is 2 inches away from the edge of the object. So I'm going to click this line. Now, when I come down to the edge of the object, because this isn't on my drawing plane, you can see it doesn't want to reference it. Can you hear my cats in the background? It's feeding time. All right, when I come down to the edge here, it doesn't reference it. I could project that line up, but it's easier just to slide back here to the line that's on the top and click it. And now when I drag my cursor over, I can click and it'll let me measure off the edge of the object, right, which is 2 inches away. All right, so I'm going to hit Enter. I've got my 2 rectangles sketched. We're going to finish this sketch. We're going to go to a 3D view. And we're going to do 2 extrusions here. So I'm going to go to Extrude. I'm going to pick this rectangle first. And for distance, I'm going to say we want to go through all. I'm going to flip it so it goes down, and you can see it cuts through everything, which is what I want. So I'm going to hit OK. Now, when I do that, you might momentarily panic because you're like, hey, Mr. Coleman, that rectangle you had up on the top totally disappeared. All right, it didn't. It's still there. It's just hidden from our view. So I'm going to come over here on my browser. If your browser is hiding, you may have to click this little 2 arrow button here. Then I'm going to go into Sketches, and you can see both sketches I did have that eye with a line through it. So if I click the eye with the line through it, it shades in the eye, and my sketches reappear. So now I can find this profile. All right, so we're going to do a second extrusion. I'm just going to extrude on this one. If I go check my multi-view drawings, the bottom surface here is 1 inch from the top. I know that because 5 minus 4 equals 1. So that's the distance I need to extrude in order to cut. Now, this doesn't give me the flippy floppy option here. The arrow's pointing up, so if I type in 1, you can see I get an error message down here because there's nothing above this to cut. All right, so we need to use a negative number. So I'm going to type in minus or -1, and then the arrow goes down. I like what I'm seeing on the preview, so I'm going to click OK. All right, this gets a little busy looking at this combined shape with these sketches on here, so I'm going to click on the eye now to turn the visibility off. I can shut that sketch window down further if I want to by clicking the triangle. All right, and again, I like what I see. If I come down here to this preview video, you can see how we drew that. All right, so that was our combined method. All right, so at this point, you're going to raise your hand, have me come over. I'm going to look at all 3 of your drawings, okay? And I'm going to know you drew them differently because I'm going to have you hit the play button and play the little video here that shows your progress. And once we've looked at all 3, be prepared because I'm going to ask you which method you liked best. And you're going to tell me, I like the additive, the subtractive, or the combination method. You're going to pick one of those 3. And then I'm going to follow that up with, well, why did you like that one the best? Right? And I want you to take a few minutes here to reflect on what you're going to tell me when I come around about why you thought one method was the best way to draw that shape. All right? So that's it. You have learned the basics of Fusion 360. After I check off your 3 shapes, you are good to go on drawing out your puzzle cube shapes next. Congratulations.